Damas and Aaron, welcome to Island Voices. Please hit the red subscribe button to the right of your screen and welcome aboard. Folks, next year is going to mark the 30th year that today's guest retired from professional football. Yet his story and his mindset is very much of what the NFL and I think all of professional sports needs more than anything else right now. And you know what? I'd say that goes for our entire nation as well. In an era hypnotized by money, egos, and seemingly endless and shameless self-promotion, this man and his legacy defines dignity. His is a story that needs never be forgotten, and I hope that in retelling it, that some people will take these lessons to heart. Because I think the finest compliment I can pay to this man is that when I try to teach my own two sons how to conduct themselves on any team or in any organization, I would simply say, watch the way this man did it and just follow those examples. Because he wasn't just a pioneer, he was a visionary. A tough but well-behaved kid from West Palm Beach, Florida, who prided himself on traveling from neighborhood to neighborhood with his guys, dominating in pickup football games throughout the area. And when he landed at the University of Miami in 1975, this was well before Jimmy Johnson or Dennis Erickson ever got their hands on that program. And it was even before Howard Schnellenberger had arrived, right before. A pioneer indeed. This program had never had a 1,000-yard rusher until our guest set that mark in 1979. And it would be upon that very foundation that our guest set for that program a newfound mindset, a revamped work ethic that the University of Miami Hurricanes would rebuild under Coach Howard Schnellenberger and turn that program into national champions. But our guest knew that it was his destiny to continue on to bigger things still. In fact, he told a friend precisely that. He said, "It is my destiny to play in the NFL and to one day return to the state of Florida, win a Super Bowl, and earn MVP of that Super Bowl." Now, that is a bit brash, especially from a man as humble as he is. But that was the prediction of this kid from West Palm Beach, and that was his intention. And when he was selected 8th overall in the 1979 NFL draft by the team that was then in the great gateway to the West, the St. Louis Cardinals, football Cardinals. Yes, kids, they were the St. Louis football Cardinals back then. He proceeded to rush for 1,605 yards as a rookie, a mark that puts him 5th all time among all rookie rushers. And mind you, this was on a team that was at the time at the very bottom of the NFC East. And he still ran for 1,605 yards. Yet after 7.5 seasons as the franchise player in St. Louis, he suddenly got a phone call from someone claiming to be Bill Parcells, the head coach of the New York Giants. So he hung up on him. But the man called back. And as it turned out, it was, in fact, Coach Bill Parcells, because our guest had been traded. In spite of being the greatest running back that franchise would ever know, he was traded. But when he came to the greatest city on earth, it was not to be as the leading man, but rather, for the first time in his career, the first time in his entire football life, really, it was to play a supporting role. And now, as you've probably heard me say, the characters define the history. Well, there was no lack of characters on this New York Giant team. And the history that results from those characters who defined it is one of the more epic and beautiful stories in football, but also across all of sports, and I think all of society. Because after illustrating unparalleled humility in accepting his role, not only as a backup, but as a guide to these new blue chip young rushers that his team was bringing in. Our guest quite nobly became an invaluable mentor to these young bucks, particularly to a Georgia Bulldog, 12 years his junior, by the name of Rodney Hampton, the Giants' first-round pick in 1990, and by all means, their front man for that season. Our guest took him under his wing and showed him the ropes, taught him how to stay healthy on this brutal battlefield, and eventually became so comfortable in his role as Mr. Miyagi that when the team found themselves in the divisional playoffs against the Chicago Bears, our guest hadn't bothered to put on his game pants. No, he had inadvertently slipped into his practice pants for that game. A little grayer, a little beat up, didn't quite fit as well. But what was the difference? He was really there to help coach the starter, Rodney Hampton, right? Well, sort of. Until Rodney Hampton goes down with a broken shin bone. And suddenly, this old warhorse with years and years of NFL miles on his odometer is asked to rise off that bench and show these young men how an old school dude from decades past gets his work done. And together with fellow backup Jeff Hostetler, our guest proceeded not only to lead his team to Super Bowl victory, but this old seasoned veteran himself, in the twilight of his career, would fulfill that prophecy that he had laid down way back when he was an ambitious young draft pick and was named most valuable player in Super Bowl 25 in the state of Florida in his 13th NFL season, practice pants and all. Damas and Aaron, mesdames et messieurs, damas y caballeros, ladies and gentlemen, it is my profound honor to welcome the single greatest NFL player not in the Hall of Fame yet, and a wonderful human being, Mr. Otis Jerome Anderson. Welcome, sir.
Wow. Beautiful. Well said, Chance. I've never heard it put that way. Well done, my friend. Well done.
You deserve it, Otis. I mean, you have an incredible story, and what impresses me more than anything is your humility and your generosity. And Phil Simms said it himself. Phil Simms said you were a remarkable teammate. I mean, that's the greatest testimony I think someone could ask for.
Well, I tell you, man, when you come to a team that had the characters they had on there in 86 with the leadership of George Martin, Harry Carson, guys I played against for several years, and now I'm a part of them. It was exciting. It was exciting, but yes, very humbling because the role that I had to play. I felt that I still had a lot left, but that was one of the greatest rushing performance that season by one of the Giants, all-time great Joe Morris, that they'd ever had. And I don't know, because my presence being there maybe got a little more out of him. I have no idea. But I know we rode Joe back all the way into Super Bowl 21. And later on, Simms led us to the victory. So I had some great friends and great characters, as I said. Maurice Cawthon, Tony Galbert were my running back mates with George Adams, Lee Roussan, and then we had Joe Morris. So our room was pretty impressive when you thought of leadership and knowledge. And then you had the quarterback, Rutledge, Hostetler, and Simms. You can't beat that. You can't beat it at all. Tight end, we had Mark Bavaro, Zeke Moore. It's just great when you just can come on a team and just exist and not have to do anything else. Don't disrupt it. Just blend in. And that's all I tried to do.
And now you're coming off 7.5 seasons with the St. Louis Cardinals. They were the St. Louis Cardinals back then. And you were the franchise guy. You were the man. You, to this day, remain their leading rusher all time, almost by double.
Wow.
You had, I believe, 7,999 yards with them.
Couldn't find 1 yard. Isn't that crazy?
What's up with the 1 yard, dude? Come on.
I'm telling you, it's a 1 yard in there somewhere that they could have made it even 8,000. I don't understand it. I don't get it.
So was St. Louis a dollar short and a day late?
Absolutely. You and I both know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's that like? I mean, look, I never played professional sports. What's it like to be traded but be traded by someone you're with 7.5 years? That, I mean, there's got to be a familial kind of sense by that point. You've been around forever with these guys, and it's a whole career unto itself. What's that like?
Well, it was definitely disheartening because, as you say, I put 7 years there. I had become a pillar in the community. My best friends were Roy Green and Leonard Smith, and Theodis Brown had got traded, early on, but it was just it was surreal because um, how it was done. Gene Stallings came in as a head coach during the summer, and when they get head coaches, they make changes, and always there's a sacrificial lamb in order to get control of the team. And players that they felt threatened by, seems to be all coaches feel threatened by certain players. They make sure that those players, with management approval, uh, get traded or are sent away so that they can, take control and also show that anybody on that team can be expendable. And I always said, Roy Green and I always used to say to each other, as hard as we're working for this organization, we don't see that we may ever get in a Super Bowl. But wouldn't it be nice if they gave us one of those opportunities to go and win a championship? And we looked at each other, we go like, that'll never happen. First of all, we are considered franchise players, and they're not going to trade us, not until we just really, really can't produce. And at that point in time, we were like 6 years in when we were talking about that, and behold, look what happened.
Uh, Destiny is sometimes a beautiful thing. Um, did I have it right? Were you at practice with the Cardinals when you
Yeah.
got the call?
Normally, when you get traded, well, put it this way: Coach Stalling and I had a miscommunication. Might not get a phone call from his office saying that they want to sit down and meet. So I go there, and I come to his office. He literally had me sit in his office for 45 minutes just to piss me off. This how I knew we weren't going to be good.
Yeah.
He walking around, I could see him, and I'm sitting there looking at the reception, going, "Whoa, what's going on?" And she said, "I don't know, Mr. Anderson. I'm just waiting for him to give me the okay to send you in the back." I said, "Well, you ain't got to worry about giving me okay. I'm up out of here." So I get up to leave, and that's when she said, "No, no, no, Coach want to speak to you." So I go to the room, back there to his office. We sit down. He look at me, and I look at him for about maybe 2 or 3 minutes. We having staring contest. I
Hmm.
mean, nobody's talking. I'm looking at him. He looking at me. And then he said, "Well, I can hold a grudge." I said, "Ooh, well, I can hold one too." And then I said, "You know what?" And I thought about where I was, and I thought about what I stand for, what I put into the organization. I said, "You know what, Coach Stallings?" I said, "I'm gonna be a team player." Oh, no, 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 I understand. I understand. You and Stump, I love you two guys. There's no way. I mean, forget about the rumors. You're not going anywhere. I said, Coach, listen, whatever beef we had, we don't have it no more. I said, I'm gonna do whatever you want me to do. If you want me to jump, I'm gonna ask you how high. You want me to roll, I won't ask you how many times you want me to do it. All I want to do is play professional football and be the best I can be on the field, off the field, and to my teammates. That's all I want to be. He said, "Well, I'm glad to hear that." And we run through some plays, and we were talking about how to run the ET stump or the X stump stunt. And Stump and I was talking to him about it. He just walked away right in the middle of the conversation. He just walked away. And I looked at Stump. I said, "Well, that's weird." He said, "Yeah, what's up with that?" And then I get a tap on my shoulder, and it was Larry Wilson. He said, "I need you to walk with me." I said, "What's up, coach?" Normally, when player personnel come on the field, there's a serious situation either at home or family or something along those lines. And my question to him was, what is going on? Is my family? He said, everybody's good, but I do need for you to walk with me. So we still on a water break. So I start walking and Roy started calling me like, Juice, where you going? And I go to stop and Larry said, just keep walking out, you know. I'm like, Larry, what's up? He said, just keep walking. And Roy said, where you going? So I get almost to the clubhouse and I stop and I said, cause Larry, I said, Larry, you don't tell me what's going on. I ain't going no further. So what's going on? And that's when they told me I was just traded to the Giants. And I was like, come on, man, really? And I thought they were joking. And that's where what you said earlier about hanging up on Coach Parcells and all that. That is true because I didn't believe it. Parcells had been Parcells was looking for a punt returner. So he got McConkey. He was looking for a punt returner. And he wanted to stop Mitchell. But Gene Stallings told Parcells, how about I give you O.J. Anderson? And Parcells said, whoa, wait a minute. I won't stop the run back punts, but you willing to give me O.J. Anderson?
Right.
And Lawrence told me that Parcells went to him and said, Lawrence, we got a chance to get O.J. Anderson. What you think? Lawrence said, are you effing kidding me? You get him if you can get him, coach. Are you? Not even no hesitation. That's what Lawrence told me he said. And then Jim Burke, same thing. He said, Jim Burke, you played 2 years for him in Miami. What kind of player? Jim Burke said to him, Coach, you're not going to get a more committed player, a team player, a player that don't smoke, don't drink, don't swear, don't hang out. You're getting a pretty good player. Process, but that's all he needed to have. I needed to know. And I get a phone call, as I said, that Wednesday midday, and they told me I was traded to the Giants.
Now let's talk about that real quick because I'm not sure if I mentioned it in the opening, but you played in 3 different decades in the NFL.
Only running back they ever done that, I believe.
Amazing. So you're going back. Your first year in the NFL was 1979. You were playing with guys that had been there since the 60s. Jim Hart was one of your quarterbacks. You had a guard named Bob Young.
Yep.
These guys were born in the 40s, early 40s. These guys were old school. You had Deerdorf was one of your teammates, Dan Deerdorf, who had been in there since 1971. Tell me, how different was it then?
Oh, man, it was totally different. Again, if you look at how we were brought up back then, you didn't have music in the locker room. Everybody, put on their game face. There was smoking in the locker room.
Wait a minute. Go back. There's smoking in the locker room?
Listen.
Come on.
I get to the Cardinals. This blew my mind. I was told when I was coming up, if you're an athlete, you don't drink, smoke, or do drugs. It just didn't give you a chance to be the best. Right. That was my belief. So I'm sitting in the locker room. I come in the locker room, getting ready to play the Dallas Cowboys, first game of my professional career. And my whole offensive line, Tom Banks and the rest of them, God bless their soul, they're smoking cigarettes.
I can't imagine. I can't imagine that.
Wayne Morris was my blocking fullback, and I'm looking at Wayne. I'm like, is this for real? He said, that's nothing. Wait till you see him at halftime.
Wow. What's better about the NFL then than now? I mean, what's one of the most important aspects of the NFL back then that is different now?
I think we stayed together a lot longer. Teams wanted you. You weren't jumping around like these kids are doing today. They on a team for a year or two and then they up and out. No, we were committed. And that's what I noticed more important than anything else is the commitment to stay on your team and build that unity that you need to be successful.
And I think you illustrate that. You don't just talk the talk, you walk the walk. One of the most lasting images of you and illustrating who you are and who you were as a player and as a teammate is that image in 1990 when Rodney Hampton came in and you were the decided supporting role at this point. You were a backup. You were there to help him adjust to the NFL, to advise him and help him learn ways to keep himself healthy and to do well in the league. And you took that role on gladly, and you took it on with great responsibility and without complaining about it. And you took it on with an element of pride. And I remember that image. It was a video actually of you and him arm in arm before
Yeah,
a game, warming up your
warming up.
hamstrings,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And it's so meaningful. It's so touching in so many ways. That you were 12 years older than that guy. You were like, you could have been a father figure. I'm sure you were a father figure to him. And to have somebody like that, like you, at that point, I mean, it's got to be scary as a rookie in the NFL. It's got to be, there's got to be all sorts of doubts and fears and concerns that a young 22-year-old kid has. Tell me about that relationship a little bit.
Well, I mean, you know what? That's so true. But just to show you how things work, when I got to the Cardinal, Willard Harrell, who had played at University of Pacific, who had played for Green Bay and had got traded to the Cardinal the year before I was drafted, he taught me that. Because I was competing for his position, Willard. And Willard saw the talent. He saw so much more that I offered that he felt that he could give, but they had already made the commitment to me because I was a first-round draft pick. So he took that father role, that mentor role, and he did me exactly the way I did Rodney. He took me under his wing. He taught me how to be a professional. He said, anybody could be a pro, but I want you to be a professional. And a professional, it had this responsibility. He said, a pro, happy to be in the league, think about himself, want to wine and dine, don't care about the organization, don't care about who he hurt, what he does. He said, but a professional thinks about organization, think about family, think about his career, and he make choices based on those things. And he said, I want you to be a professional. I want you to be an all-around professional athlete that can run, block, and catch the pass. And he molded that into me. And it took Willard, actually, me not doing certain things gave him 2 extra years to be a mentor. But you know one thing, when they draft a kid first round in any position, they expect him to play. So when they drafted Rodney, and I saw his ability on the field, I saw exactly what Willard said about me when he saw me. This guy got ability. And what I'm going to do is make him and help him become the best he can be. So when Parcells had mentioned to me about becoming a role model to Rodney, I had already had that frame of mind. I'd already saw his talent. He reminded me of me when I came into the league. He had the side, he had the wiggle room, he had the speed, he had the catching ability. It was instantly to clone. If I had to clone myself, Rodney was going to have been that clone because he had everything that I had when I came in as a rookie. So it was easy. It was like me being reincarnated, and through Rodney, yes.
But that character inside of you, inside of Otis Jerome Anderson, is why guys like Jim Burt and guys like LT and the people who knew who you really were said, yes, Parcells, take him. He's the guy we want. Because they were getting a lot more than just a football player. They were getting somebody with great maturity and with great football and social IQ. And that's invaluable. And they weren't paying any extra for that. That came with the deal, didn't it?
It did. And you're right about IQ and character, because the league had some back then. I just played. It was instilled in me when I was playing Little League football, from Dan Calloway to Mr. Mel Obradovich, who were coaches who coached me when I played Pee Wee football. Importance of accountability, respect, playing hard, playing for your brother. They instilled that into me and other guys, and we just parlayed that on as we got older. Because if you build a house on a good foundation, it's gonna stand a long time. And I had good foundation from my family, where my mom was everything, to my siblings, to my coaches. My foundation was strong. So it was hard for me to be on rocky ground. And I just tried to maintain that that information and the foundation that was already created.
It's a great illustration of how important where you come from and who raises you, how important that is to people, even as a young kid. And you're a perfect illustration of that. Now you played youth football going back to you were 6, 7, 8 years old, something like that.
Hmm.
When do you say, I'm going to be a pro football player? I'm going to make a living at this. When does that happen?
You know what? That's a great question, Coach. You really don't know. I didn't say that when I was young. I never put that out there. I had an older brother named Marvin Smoke Anderson who died in college, but they told me had he not died, he would have been as good as Gale Sayers. He was just that
Wow.
dominant. Yes, he was out of West Palm Beach, Roosevelt High School. He was about 5'9", and people who played with me, who saw me as a rookie. I remember playing against a guy who played defensive back for Atlanta Falcons. I never forget that in preseason. My first time I touched the football, I went 80 yards. Running in for halftime, the kid said to me, he said, "You're not bad, but you couldn't even carry your brother's jock strap."
Wow. How I'm sorry, how much older was he than you?
He was a sophomore in college, and I was in sixth grade. And I remember when he passed away, the coach at that school told me, "You'll never have to worry about a scholarship. I'll make sure you get one." No, I never thought about that. When it became real to me, and this is the honest God truth, when I was in Miami and I was just playing my freshman year, and Pete Banaszak and Ted Hendricks walked into the locker room going to see the trainer because they was old friends. And I looked and I saw Ted Hendricks. I kind of knew who he was, but Pete Banaszak I didn't know. So I said to some people, I said, "Who's those guys?" I said, "Who's that guy with Ted?" They said, "That Pete Banaszak, the running back for the Oakland Raiders." I said, "Wait a minute, that's Pete Banaszak?" I said, "Yeah." Pete Banaszak at that time, he to me looked like a retired insurance man. Because he had been in the league for a while. He had already started balling, hair was thinning,
Right.
and he was up in age. You know, remember, I'm literally 20. I'm 18, 19 years old. I'm looking at a guy who's obviously in his late 30s and kind of on his way out of football. When I saw him, I said to myself, "Mr. Kelly, I could play pro football. If he can play pro football, that's when it became real."
It came into focus for you then. You said,
That,
wait a minute. This is I can size this up. I think I could do this.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Pete Banaszak motivated me.
One of the most impressive things about you is that this I didn't know. When you won the MVP of the Super Bowl, of Super Bowl
Mhm.
25,
Yes, sir.
you had the opportunity to say either I'm going to Disney World,
Yep.
or because we were in a war, it was during the Gulf War,
Right.
you had the choice of also saying, I dedicate this win to our troops.
Yep.
Wish upon a star makes no difference who you are. Anything your heart desires will come to you.
O.J. Anderson, you and the New York Giants have just won the Super Bowl. What are you going to do next?
I'm dedicating this win to our troops.
And you chose the latter, and you are the only man who ever did that.
Absolutely. Yep. I take great pride in that. The game was played on behalf of the country. We were in a dire strait at that particular time, and our soldiers needed an uplift. And the game was thought not to be played. And the president at the time, President Bush, thought it was good for the country. So when I was given that opportunity, I ran with it. I felt that's the only thing you could say was to dedicate the win to our troops.
Good for you, man. Good
Yeah.
for you. That's a great thing. It's a great lesson. If you were going to say one thing to NFL players today in terms of mentoring them or improving the situation today, what would you say to them? What would you want to tell them?
That playing in the NFL is a privilege. You know, it's and you need to understand that you represent a whole assortment of people, past and present. And you always want to lead the game with integrity and also have given your all. That's what I would tell the players today.
That's a great message.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to be in a film about Kurt Warner, and I play Coach Mike Martz.
Yeah,
And-
I can see that.
And in doing my research, you know, I'm a football fan, but I've never been in the NFL. And what amazed me was the fraternal aspect of that world, particularly the older guys. I mean, particularly you guys and the past generations,
Yes,
how
sir.
you guys stick together. You know, you were on different teams, you may have been rivals, whatever, you may have been coaches versus players, but the respect that you guys have for each other is remarkable.
Well, that's why that statement what I said. You know, you represent more than just you. You know, I think the players today, they forget that. They forget that the path that has been laid were by greater men and men who really laid it on the line to represent their organization and the league and to make sure that the next generation and the next generation improves on that. And that's what I pride myself on. And that's my message.
I think it's a great message. I think playing professional football has an element of national responsibility to it. You know, people are free to express their views and things as they need to, but there is an element, there's a pedestal that you are on once you achieve being a player in the National Football League. And I think it does come with some element of responsibility. And I think you represented that magnificently, and you still do to this day, you know. I'm going to tell you a secret. You guys, when you were training at Pace back in the day, you were going to our hometown bar, Michael's Tavern. So we got to see you guys up close. And I got to tell you, not only were you guys not trouble, you guys were delightful. Whether you were having a drink or not, I know you don't drink, but
Nope.
LT was there, Leonard Marshall was there, Joe Morris there, you were there, and you guys were great. You guys were so much fun to be around. There was so much positivity in that group.
Well, again, it speaks about your coaching staff. You know, Parcells said, "Hey, man, you know, you got to treat these places just like you would treat your home. You know, you want people to treat your house with respect when they come in. If you go to these bars or tavern, you have the same respect. You know."
Tell us about your scholarship fund. It's the OJ Anderson Scholarship Foundation, I believe. Tell us about that.
Well, I'm excited about that. It started in West Palm Beach, Florida, where I grew up. I started a long time ago, just giving kids a chance, like somebody gave me. I had a scholarship, but there was a lot of kids that came out of high school that wanted to go to college, but was short in funds. And I used to just do it myself, and for a long time, and then financially just wasn't feasible for me to do it. I kind of let it go for a while, and then a friend of mine whose sister I went to school with, named Shanita Graham, her sister Laverne, came to me about restarting my organization again for kids with the help of a guy named Ray Robinson. And we started the OJ Anderson Scholarship Foundation back up again in West Palm Beach, Florida. And we had 10 years strong before COVID. And we also have given over $100,000 with the Tracy's Gifts of Mr. Ray Robinson. One beneficiary, Mr. Ray Robinson, every year gave between $20,000 to $30,000 for kids to go to school through our scholarship foundation. Such a unsung hero. And if he knew I was putting him out there, he'll be totally embarrassed and say he's uncalled for. But Ray Robinson did so much for the O.J. Anderson Scholarship Foundation in West Palm Beach. I was able to parlay that into New Jersey with the help of Mark Goldberg, who became a real good friend of mine and a business partner as well. And we have built the O.J. Anderson Scholarship Foundation in New Jersey. It's been beautiful to see the kids' faces when we give them checks to go off to school. And, education is so important, and the youth of tomorrow need so much help.
OJ, you're an element of New York history that transcends the Giants. It transcends sports. The mindset that you brought to the game, the lessons that you laid down for others, are as valuable to us as a society as anything learned on or off the field. Because what you illustrate in the face of diversity during your career, when the chips were down, was selflessness and generosity, and most of all, great courage. And I commend you for the legacy that you leave, not just on the field, but for this great place that we now call New York, and for our entire society to observe and learn from the examples you set. You've left us with great lessons, and I commend you, and it's an honor to know you. And I say God bless to you and your families.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you and to share these moments of encouragement to all. People like you is why people like me and other guys stay relevant, because you guys understand the importance of getting information to our youth of tomorrow, to let people like myself don't go unnoticed for the reason you said. And all you can do as a person is thank you. Thank you for your attentiveness. Thank you for having the opportunity to say what you need to have said. And I just appreciate you giving me a chance to share, what I had to share. And, and I leave you with this. There are going to be obstacles in your life. There are going to be things that's going to challenge your faith. It's going to challenge you as a person. And you have to reach back to those things that you was taught when you was young about persevering, about overcoming those obstacles. And you gotta always keep faith. Keep God in mind and keep faith that you think you got it bad. There's always somebody got it worse. That's my advice.
It's great advice, sir. And you're a great man. You're a great New Yorker, and you're a great American. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. And you're welcome. You're welcome here with me anytime, O.J. Anderson. It's a pleasure.
Well, thank you, Mr. Kelly. I appreciate you giving me this platform.
You got it, sir. And I look forward to speaking with you again. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I'm beating the odds. Whenever I finish the game, I'm beating the odds. Win, lose, or draw, I'm beating the odds because I'm counted out. I'm not supposed to be able to do this.